Hello, my name is Sally and I am one of the makeup artists working with Look Fabulous Forever, which is skincare, hair care and makeup specifically designed for the older face. Today I want to talk to you about blusher and bronzer and the do's and don'ts, particularly as you get older, of blusher and bronzer. And for me, it makes a massive difference on an older face. My face has definitely become more one colour as I've got older and I've lost sort of pigmentation, lost a bit of definition. And so for me, when I put my bronzer and my blusher on, everything starts to come alive and I just look a little bit more well and a little bit more finished and balanced. So I'm going to demonstrate different techniques on both sides of my face to show you some of the do's and don'ts with the Look Fabulous Forever blushers and bronzer. So what have I done already? I have prepared my skin. I've used my skincare, I've used my primers, and I have put on today a mixture of Light Look Beauty Balm in shade 0.5 mixed with some Continuous Cover Foundation in shade 2. I've used concealer in shade 2. I've done my eyes and I have done my lips as well. But I haven't put on any powder and I haven't put on any blusher or bronzer. So let's get going and I will show you some ideas. So on this side of my face, on my right side, I'm going to show you how I would apply my bronzer normally. And on this side of my face, I'm going to show you how I wouldn't apply my bronzer. There's no definite wrong or right with makeup and everybody is different, everybody's individual. It might be that you like a different kind of look with your bronzer, but I'm just going to show you a few tips and tricks that I have learned over the years, particularly with older faces as well. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, the bronzer that Look Fabulous Forever does, and it is called Enduring Summer Bronze. This is the product. There's only one shade and it is a matte powder. It looks a little bit orangey when you first open up the case, but I promise you it does not come out scarily orange at all. It's actually a very gentle product that you can just build up and it suits nearly everyone. It's a really clever colour. It's matte. It doesn't have any shimmer. A lot of bronzers have a lot of shimmer in them, and that's great when you're young and you have no lines on your face. If you are slightly liney like I am, if you put lots of shimmer on, it can just sort of sit and emphasize fine lines. So a matte bronzer can be really flattering on older skin. It's not a liquid. Some bronzers are liquids, and because it's a matte powder, it's really important to prep the skin before you use it. So what I'm going to do on this side is I'm first of all going to apply some translucent powder. Again, only one colour, it's translucent, it's got no colour to it. And I'm going to use my powder brush number 1. If you put a bronzer directly onto skin that maybe has just had moisturiser put on it and you're not going to wear foundation, you might find that the bronzer basically grabs onto the tackiness of moisturiser and goes patchy and looks a bit too heavy. Likewise, if you put your Light Look Beauty Balm or your foundation, or as I've done, a mixture of them on and then go straight in with bronzer, again it's putting powder onto a liquid base. So again, it can just grab onto that liquid and go a little bit too strong and a little bit uneven. So that's why what I'm going to do on my right side is to apply just a gentle sweeping motion of powder, so that when I put my bronzer on, you've actually got a layer of powder first, which will mean that it will not grab onto anything sticky. And my neck is quite light, so I'm going to put a little bit of powder just onto my neck so that again, when I put my bronzer on, which I'll show you where I put it, it doesn't grab onto my neck, particularly if you've used moisturiser on your neck or if you've used body lotion. You might want to put your bronzer on your collarbone. Again, if you've used body lotion there or moisturiser and you put your bronzer directly on, it might grab and look too much, too strong. So tiny dusting of powder makes all the difference. So where do you put it and what brush should you use? I personally, when I'm using bronzer as a bronzer, I want to look as though I have just been sun-kissed. So it's where the sun has just caught me. And I like to use my powder brush number 1. So this is a really soft brush. It's not, the bristles are not too dense, and it just allows the bronzer to go on in not too heavy a way. So I'm going to put it on where I would naturally get sun-kissed, so on the highest parts of my face. So take a little bit up, you can always just dust it off. Better to put less on and build up than to put too much on. And I like to start in the hairline. I usually wear a fringe, so you can't really on my face see this, but if you have no fringe, it's quite nice just to sort of use a little bit of bronzer right into the hairline. Not too low, but just into that hairline area. And then what I'm going to do, a little bit on my temples and then onto the top of my cheekbones. So it's kind of like a number 3. So I'm going to just start on that outer edge, just a little bit. So I'm going right from the top of this bit here onto where I would get sun-kissed, just like that. And I hope you can see that it's not coming out scarily orange at all. It's just a very gentle colour. Because it is a powder and it's actually very natural looking, you can use our bronzer slightly like a contour powder, and therefore I am going to put just, as I said, a number 3 shape, a tiny bit onto my jawline, which creates a slightly pushed back look and a slightly sharper jawline. Contour powder is also matte, but is often quite greying, and on an older face it's quite nice to have something that's a little bit warmer. So where you get sun-kissed, tiny bit here. And what I'm also going to do is put a little bit down the side of my neck, just here. I'm going to put a bit on my collarbone, if you can see that. And because this bit's a bit white, I'm going to put a little bit just under here. Tiny bit of colour just under here, so you don't have a floating face. So it's a bit like a C shape. Bit of colour there. So I'm going out to in for the bronzer. And then just down here. If you want to, if you think about it, when you go out in the sun, you sometimes get a little bit sun-kissed on the highest part of your nose. So I like to sometimes just put a sweep of bronzer just on that bit of my nose. So hopefully you can see it's just given me a little bit of colour, a little bit of natural warmth without looking scary. Now, this side of my face, I'm actually going to, just before I start, I'm going to add a little bit of extra foundation, because it will then show you what happens if you put it directly onto tacky skin, because this is what people often do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the wrong brush. I'm going to use a really dense small brush. So this is actually our brush number 10. And I'm going to take the bronzer and I'm actually going to start on my cheeks here, thinking I'm going to look sun-kissed. Because it's a dense brush, it's going to look a little bit too dark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my forehead, but I'm going to leave a gap here, which again is what sometimes people do, just to try and look kind of a bit brown, a bit tanned. Now, can you see that because I have put it onto tacky skin, it's grabbed the product. It didn't do that this side because I put the powder on, but here it has. I've left a gap here, which again is not right. And I've also left a gap here. So it's looking a little bit too obvious, a bit too strong. And now I'm going to also put too much on my neck, which again is quite tacky from my moisturiser. So if you can see, it looks a bit orange there. It does look like I've applied bronzer. And now I'm trying to desperately sort of blend it in because I've gone too much. But because I put too much on with a dense brush onto tacky skin, it looks overdone. I look like I've really just put too much on. So that's what sometimes can happen. I'm slightly exaggerating here for the purpose of the video, but I hope you can see it feels tacky as well because I didn't put the powder on. It hasn't diffused the effect. And I've just sort of put it all over really to try and make me look really brown. Okay, so this is the right side. You can put a little bit on your chin, just a tiny bit, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about blusher, blusher colour and blusher placement. Look Fabulous Forever has a lovely blusher called Real Radiance Blush, and it is a blusher. Let me show you the one that I'm going to use on my right hand side. I'm going to use Peach Cream. So this product is actually a cream formulation, but it turns into a slightly silky powder when you apply it. So it means that it's really easy to apply, to build up. If you just use a cream blusher, it sometimes sinks into the skin too much. If you just use a powder blusher, sometimes it sits on the skin. So this has the benefit of actually both cream and powder. And it's really easy to use. So I'm going to use my middle finger and I'm going to smile to find the sort of the apple of our cheek. As we get older, everything drops, including the apple. So if you just go onto the apple, it can be a little bit low on an older skin. So actually I'm going to go slightly, smile and go slightly higher, not quite in the middle, but a fraction out. And I'm just going to sweep it upwards in a really pretty sort of teardrop shape. With blusher, again, you can change the shape depending on your shaped face. If you've got a very narrow face, you might want to apply your blusher in a slightly more horizontal way. If you've got a very round face, wide face, you might want to make your blusher slightly more vertical. But if you've got a sort of oval face, a good starting point is to do it in a teardrop shape. So, and what I'm now going to do is to take a different brush. I'm taking my blusher brush, which is our brush number 2. I like to hold it at the bristle so that I'm actually in control of my blusher brush. And rather than doing it in a totally straight way, I slightly swirly motion, but upwards, just to blend in the colour. And I hope you can see that just by using a little bit of this colour, it makes me look like I've been for a lovely walk in the fresh air. My cheeks have got a bit of colour to them. I've got a little bit more definition to my face. It sort of brings my eye makeup and my lips alive when I put my blusher on. Because I am warmer toned, I have gone for Peach Cream, which actually works for warm or cool actually. We've got a whole range of blushers in the Look Fabulous Forever range. Some for cooler, some for warmer, and some for more neutral ladies. And if you're not sure which one to use or which one is best for you, go onto the website and do our colour quiz, which is really simple. It only takes a few minutes and it should help you decide which blusher colour is right for you. As I said, this one, it's peachy, but it's also got a tiny bit of pink in it as well. So actually it does suit warm and cool. So what I have done is just put it on. Because I am warmer, I can now, if I want to give myself a tiny bit more colour and a bit more warmth, what I sometimes do is I go back with the same blusher brush and a tiny bit more of my bronzer and just sweep it over if I just want that little bit more colour. If you are a cooler lady, I would definitely only put my bronzer on after doing powder, but before using your blusher. I wouldn't go back in like I'm doing now. But because I'm warmer, I do sometimes just give myself a fraction more. Okay, so on my left side, I am going to use a colour that is really more for cooler ladies, and it's also a little bit strong for me. So it is Petal Pink. So you can see that this is quite a cool blue-based blusher. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some on my finger, just again, and I'm going to smile, but I'm going to go actually right on the cheek area here. And gosh, yes, that's what sometimes happens. If you put too much on your finger, too much goes on. So now what I'm going to do is what, again, a lot of ladies do is they take, because they panic, they put too much on, they take a big brush rather than the blusher brush. So I'm now taking the wrong brush. I'm taking my powder brush or my bronzer brush, and I'm going to try desperately to get rid of my mistake. It's too, so you can see I brought it in too much. I've closed my face up. I've not gone high enough. I've gone a bit low. Oh gosh, now I put a bit more tea, sorry. And I'm blending it randomly rather than with a smaller brush, so that it's just basically diffusing this pink all over my face. I look really like I'm having a massive hot flash here. And it's too down, it's gone down too much, which has sort of drooped. I hope you can see it's drooped the side of my face. Also, again, because I haven't put powder on, it's grabbed, the colour has grabbed onto my foundation a little bit. So it's harder to blend it properly because there's just too much colour and pigmentation. It hasn't been diffused by powder. So this side of my face, I hope you can see it's a little bit too, it's too blue based. The pink is a too blue based pink. I've gone too low. I've basically come in a bit too much, and I've used the wrong brush to blend in my blusher. So if you're not sure what you are, whether you're warm or cool, go onto our website, as I said, and do the colour quiz. But I hope this has shown you that by using powder before putting on your bronzer, it will just stop the bronzer grabbing onto any tacky residue of your foundation or your Light Look Beauty Balm or your moisturiser. And you can see here basically where I put it on, it's just too orange. You don't want to look like you are trying to give yourself a suntan with bronzer. Bronzer should be just very subtle, and hopefully you can see this side looks a little bit more subtle and is in better keeping with my own skin tone. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope this helps you to use the bronzer and the blusher to make the best of your makeup, because it can make such a big difference to your overall look. And I hope you enjoy using the bronzer and the blusher. If you've got any questions or any comments about using bronzer, using blusher, we would really love to hear from you. But thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you again soon in another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.